So today is the 8th of May, 2022, Sunday. So we will be continuing our sharing from this book. I think it's on a new series, number 46 lesson of the 6th Patriarch Platform Sutra. So now we are continue from this new book, the 46th lesson of the 6th Patriarch Platform Sutra. This book is based on the direct transcript from the recording of the 46th lesson of the 6th Patriarch Platform Sutra, dated 14th of May in the year 2017, which was 5 years ago, conducted by me and Wu Ping Ching Sir. Okay, I'll read through quickly the content page. The content page, we have a preface. I'll go through that. We also have an acknowledgement page. Then we have the puja proper, followed by the Dhamma sharing by me. And after that, the content is, we are at chapter 6 of the 6th Patriarch Platform Sutra, Liu Chu Tan Xing, on repentance and reform, page 236 of Master Xuan Hua's commentaries. Then after that, there is this meditation reporting, followed by the Q&A. After that, the closing ceremony. Okay. So briefly, for those who are new, who may not know, I will read through my biodata. Biodata of Brother Teal. Brother Teal graduated from a University of Malaya in civil engineering in the year 1979. He has been a spiritual practitioner come meditator since 1971. Since his retirement in 2001 from his engineering career, he has been sharing his understanding and experience with those who are keen in their search for true happiness, peace, and liberation from birth and death and all mental suffering, so that they can be more virtuous, nobler, and wiser human beings. He gives them a talk and holds meditation classes at retreats and weekly Dhamma classes at various meditation centers, Buddhist society, and places that invited him. For more detail of Brother Teal's Dhamma activity and his Kayamitasship grouping, please log into his website, http://brotherteal.com. Okay, and preface. It is Brother Teal's sincere wish that Dhamma friends, spiritual practitioners, seekers of truth, and cultivators of the way will be able to make use of this enclosed Dhamma transcript note to develop a better understanding of the Buddha's Dhamma or teaching as taught by the Buddha, so that they may progress along the path of Dhamma to become more virtuous, nobler, and wiser human beings that can be a blessing to all of humanity and the world. As these notes were mostly compiled based on the direct transcript from the recording of the 46th lesson of the 6th Patriarch Platform Sutta class, dated 14 May 2017, the text is aligned as closely as possible to the colloquial speech in the talk. However, some editorial amendment has been made to the text without distracting from the essence of the talk. With this, it is hoped that the reader can adjust themselves accordingly to better understand its content, its true meaning and intent. A good way to do this is to listen to the recording first before reading the transcript notes. To listen to the recording, the audio file, you can log on to our website, broteo.com website, under Repository of Dhamma Material or just Google Brother Theo's Kayanimittas, a repository of Dhamma material, to view them, or alternatively download the following audio link or audio file. Acknowledgement. It is the donor's sincere intent that these Dhamma notes or transcript be given free to those who are interested and have the affinity to receive them. I would like to take this opportunity to thank and rejoice with the generosity and wholesomeness of all those Dhamma friends or Kayamitas who have donated and helped out in the transcription, typing, typesetting, formatting, and proofreading, etc., to make this free distribution of Dhamma Dana possible. Special thanks should be accorded to Sister S.K. Hong Shet Queen, who has taken the initiative to volunteer to develop the draft transcript for my subsequent editing, thereby enabling this Dhamma transcript book to be printed. By the power of all this wholesomeness, may all beings be well and happy, free from all mental and physical suffering and dangers, and may there be love, peace, and joy deep within their hearts, and may also pave the way for there to be causes and conditions for all Dhamma friends who have donated and helped out in one way or other to realize their good and noble wishes or aspirations as soon as possible. With metta always, gratitude. Okay, now we will commence our sharing. So as usual, I started off by saying a very good afternoon to brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Today is 14 May 2017, a Sunday at Wuping Chingsa Vihara, and we will be having our 46th lesson of the 6th Patriarch Platform Sutra class. Before we start, as usual, we will do the puja. So the puja is quite similar to what we did just now. Compose your mind, develop the saddha, faith, and the virya, and mindfully we shall commence the puja chanting. Then you can read through yourself. The format we use is from Mahayana salutation. We connect it to the Theravada tradition. So we pay homage to our original teacher, Namo Pen Si释迦牟尼佛 3 times. Then, of course, Guan Yin, then for Buddha. But we have evolved and include Amitabha Buddha, Maitreya Buddha, and also Puxian, Dizangwang Pusa, and also all the other great beings. Okay, then we turn to page 4. After the puja, we rejoice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Then we pay respect mindfully to Triple Gem to end the pre-puja. That's why, like just now, we recited Buddhang Pujemi, Dhammang Pujemi, Sanghang Pujemi. So this one is our respect to the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, the Triple Gem. We go for refuge, then we respectfully pay our respect. Okay, 3.2, Dhamma sharing by Brother Teo. So there is this opening verse. Whenever a Maya Sutra were to start, there is an opening verse. The verse for opening a sutta. So this one we have to pay attention. This clearly expressed to us how rare and difficult is it for humanity or living beings to receive such teachings. So verse for opening a Mahayana Sutta. The unsurpassed, profound and wonderful Dhamma. So these three are very important words. The Sutta or Dhamma is unsurpassed, profound and wonderful. The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dhamma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of aeons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. You must make such vow aspiration. Uh, Commit yourself to receive this truth, understand this truth. Uh, that's why you vow to fathom the Tathagata's true teaching. Mm. Okay, then we go on to the sharing. So, chapter 6, repentance and reform. So, repentance is like asking for forgiveness, and we repent means we vow not to commit all this again. Then I read from the Sutra. The Sutra says, good knowing advisor, now that we have made the four all-encompassing vows, the Bodhisattva vows, I will transmit the Bodhisattva precepts of the triple refuge that has no mark. Good knowing advisor, take refuge with the enlightened one, the honored one, and the doubly perfect one. Take refuge with the right, the honor that is apart from desire. Take refuge with the pure and the honor among the multitudes. This is the Sutra part. Then let us go into the commentaries by Master Shenhua. So this commentary is quite good. Listen. Take refuge in the Buddha is because the Buddha is enlightened. Enlightenment is simply the Buddha. The Buddha is nothing but embodiment of enlightenment. The Buddha is doubly perfect because he has perfected both blessings and wisdom, or virtue and wisdom. That's why we always contemplate on the 9 great virtues of the Buddha. These 9 great virtues symbolize what Buddha is all about. He is not only enlightened, he is fully enlightened, Sammasambuddha. And because of that, he has these 2 very unique perfections, which we call it the doubly perfect. Meaning, he is perfect in both wisdom and virtue. So you can relate to the Buddha as a very unique being, who is supposed to be the wisest and the most virtuous living being ever to be born. The doubly perfect means he has completed the training to develop wisdom and virtue, and he has reached the pinnacle of both cultivation. That's why he is called the doubly perfect. So in Mandarin, I remember Shenhua always say, Fu Zhu Hui Zhu, Fu Ye Ye Man Le, Hui Ye Bu Quan Le. He always say that. Fu Hui Shuang Xiu. This doubly perfect cultivation is very important. For to cultivate Dhamma is to cultivate virtue and wisdom. Without wisdom, there is no true virtue. This one I added in because my nature came to realize without true wisdom, there can be no real virtue. The so-called virtue or goodness and wholesomeness is according to one's belief or conditioning. Means virtuous according to the individual. Yeah. But when you have wisdom, virtue become pure virtue, true virtue, born of wisdom, not born of the egoic mind. It is no more virtue or good according to who. It is a universal understanding. So this aspect of cultivation need to be understood. If you have not cultivated the wisdom, the awakening, all you do, everything you do actually, the so-called goodness, virtue, is not the true virtue or good, the true good. But this one is still relative true, a convention of the world. Right according to who? Good according to who? Wholesome and virtuous according to who? It is not based on wisdom, which is universal in its approach. When you can root out your delusion, your ignorance, the ego, then there is a possibility of having true virtue. So this understanding, if you can develop it, you become different. Your cultivation become different, and your virtue, your nature will shine forth. It's just like in the teaching, the Buddha always say, like the fragrance of the flower. Huh? If you really have that fragrance huh, will be like shine forth far and wide. And whoever who have the condition to sense it can notice your fragrance. This flower is really beautiful with all the fragrance. Means you really have the wisdom and the perfection. It's like the incense. Huh? The fragrance is very strong. Mm. But if you cultivate Dhamma, then you lack wisdom. You only have theoretical knowledge, or what we call Dhamma knowledge. Then it is not true wisdom. And without wisdom, there is no real virtue. That's why when we come to cultivation, we have to be very, very meticulous, very careful. We have to understand this deeply. Otherwise, we will become gullible, go astray, and get caught without knowing that all these are thought-based cultivation that doesn't lead to awakening. Whatever that is not from the self nature will not lead to awakening. Okay, we'll continue our sharing. Then the next part of the commentary. Take refuge with the Dhamma. This is right and proper. So the first one is take refuge in the Buddha, and now we take refuge in the Dhamma, which is right and proper. Do not take refuge with deviant teaching, the teachings of heavenly demons, or heterodox religion. Take refuge with the genuine Buddha Dhamma, which is the honor. Here they qualify it, which is the honor that is apart from desire. Like I said, free from craving, desire. Everyone has sexual desire. It actually kills people. Why doesn't we realize Buddhahood is because of desire, greed, hatred, and stupidity which accompany it? We study the Buddha Dhamma in order to get rid of craving, desire, and cut off love. The absence of lust is the honor that is apart from desire. So this is Xuan Hua's commentary. Then the third one is to take refuge in the Sangha. Take refuge in the Sangha. The Sangha is pure, and its members are called pure fields of merge. True genuine cultivators should maintain the precept against handling money. Without money, you are pure. With money, you are dirty. So this is Xuan Hua's explanation. Of course, the last part is a bit subjective. Subjective. actually according to the precepts, especially those who are taking the monk's precept, they are not supposed to handle money. That's the reason why in the Theravada tradition, they come out with this called kapya to serve the monks. Whatever you need them to do, to buy for you or whatever, or to materialize for you, you need to have kapya who are lay people who can handle money and help you do all these things. Mm. There is a reason for all this, because according to Sakyamuni Buddha, before you become enlightened, before you have the wisdom, you handle money and all this so-called wealth, chances are you'll be tempted to keep them, to abuse them, and the evils can come in. Yeah. Then the other thing about cultivation is also about your understanding of your virtue. Yeah. Because when you renounce the world, when you decide to enter the monkhood and cultivate according to the monastic guidelines, these guidelines are very well established, and most of them is to help them in the training initially. But there are certain, they call precepts, which are not the minor rules, they are the major rules. You cannot offend. If you offend them, you break them, you have to disrobe. Then, as a monk, you're not supposed to work. Here, work means you're not supposed to have a career that allow you to make money, or earn something. You're supposed to practice what they call synergy. Synergy between the Sangha and the ladies. You're supposed to cultivate and to be worthy of offering support and all those things, the four requisites. And because you are worthy, you will receive support, you will receive offering, food, shelter, and medicine. All this. So you are not supposed to touch money, earn money, and do all this. So if you have the parami, you have the what they call faith in your whatever nature, karmic nature, cultivation, then all these are not a concern because your support will be there. That's why the precept is tailored in such a way that you are not supposed to handle money or touch money. Yeah. But all this you must understand, like during the Buddha's time. When you are not enlightened, all these precepts, guidelines, they are training rules required for the individual to actually train themselves, so that they will not make mistake, they will not get entangled and create problems. So over the years, after more and more cultivator has developed the understanding and what they call ability to handle all this, then they need to actually come out with understanding on how to handle the missionary work and the building of major Buddhist projects, activities that can lead to is, I wouldn't use the word propagation, so that people can have the condition and opportunity to receive this teaching and they can be a source of like refuge for people, and it can help society too in many aspects, like what we have seen in all the major Buddhist traditions or even other religious traditions that are genuine, sincere, who really go all out to help humanity. So each and every of these traditions, I realize they have their strength. I explained before, their forte and all those things. Like 慈济, yeah, 慈悲救济, that is how they get their name. They are foremost in helping people who have problems. That's why they are great compassion and how to save people who are entangled with nature's disaster and other types of problems. So they are very good in this. They organize it very well. Then they can raise all the fund, and they did very, very well and very properly. Then you look at other tradition like the late Senyan Faster, I think Fakusan, they specialize in meditation, meditative training. So if you want to develop meditation very well, you should go there. Of course, they got other type of activities too. Then Guang, singing Faster, he is also very good. He also specializes in the field of Buddhist, we call it the Buddhist teachings or academic side, where you want to learn the teachings. You can go to Guang, where they are very well established, the monastic and all those things. And they are very systematic. And of course, there are other monasteries that specialize in encouraging people to walk the way of the Bodhisattva, like Zhongtai Chansi, all these things. So all this need a lot of money to build their temples, their facilities, to move their projects, and to fund a lot of things, because you need a lot of buildings to be built, even the canteen and all those things, then the way place for cultivation. Then you need to have money to buy the land, or people must donate to you. Even they donate to you, you must raise fund to build them, to fund them. And all these are not easy. But if you really have some experience or understanding, you'll be amazed by the amount of money they can raise because of their pyramid. Even a very simple project, which she did, like a piece of land in Kapong. I was there in the groundbreaking ceremony, and before that, when we heard somebody donated that piece of land, it was a fairly big piece or big size, not too small, but not too big also. I think about 20 to 30 acres, something around there. So at that time, it seems that piece of land was valued to be quite expensive, not cheap. I believe the land alone could be in the area of near to 100 million. Then to build the facilities, the building, and you also need equally much. Also maybe another 100 million. Yes, they want to build the medical center too, and also the educational facility, like I think it's a Buddhist university or what, I'm not very sure. But it's educational, it's very big. Yeah. And also they have other facilities and funding, and all this take money, but they can raise them. Really, they can raise them. And there is a lot of fun coming in because what they do was so impressive, genuine, and people know who know really will go all out to help them. Mm. So all these are very good example. Even the other tradition too, you can see all this happening. Mm. But to do this, you must have perfection of virtue and wisdom. Otherwise, all this cannot happen, especially Dana Parami. So even though the precepts, one of the monk precepts, they cannot handle money, but they are able to get people who can be trusted to handle for them. And they get very good people, professionals and all those things to help them run all this selflessly. Yeah. That's why all these are possible and is happening. Okay, we'll continue our sharing. So here the last sentence, I need to qualify a bit. Master Chenwa said, true genuine cultivator should maintain the precept against handling money. Yeah? This one is what he personally feel at that time. Without money, you are pure. With money, you are dirty. So to him, he also built the city of 10,000 Buddhas. And he also raised funds for many things. But he got people to help him handle money. So that's how all these are possible. So I say this again is Shenhua's interpretation because according to him, he thinks without money you are pure, with money you are dirty. Well, one doesn't have the understanding, one will think that way. This precept is introduced to prevent the monks from becoming greedy, means when they are undergoing the training rules, they must abstain from handling money. The precept is not to touch money, but they have to understand the deep meaning behind it. The Buddha said, one has to abstain from touching money, otherwise temptation can arise. That is what I mean. During the early days, in the 8 precepts, you may recall the Buddha said, you have to abstain from taking solid food after the allowable time, which is midday, at the place where you are in, and you are to abstain from all those dancing, singing, sleeping on high and comfortable bed, etc. All this you have to understand. They are precepts laid down for those who are still undergoing training, still under training. If you are under training, you need to observe these precepts. Otherwise, it can lead to temptation and downfall. This is to prevent sensual indulgence, sensual desire, lust and craving. Otherwise, the sensual indulgence and craving can arise due to delusion. All this has been laid down as patimokkha or monks' rules or monks' precept for training purpose only. So as cultivator, we have to understand all this. But when it comes to money, you cannot blame money or technology for all those downfall or vice that happen. It is the user of money and technology that is more important. It is the user, if the user has wisdom and understanding, then it can touch money, and money becomes beautiful and useful for its service purpose. It's the same for technology. So we cannot just blame the internet. Yes, because I often hear people say the TV is very bad influence. They call the TV like a more modern Mara. Then they say they have too much influence on the people, like the violent movie and all those things. And all these are like luring people's craving, desire. So we call it the modern day type of sensuality. They really lure your senses. Because there are so much of technological development that can lead to a lot of sensuality, high level of sensuality, like the music, the dance, and even show and all those things. uh, so they can be very alluring and all these things. Yeah. But one has to understand, we cannot blame technology for all this. You like it or not, technology will continue to evolve and continue to be here. So, like the Buddha say, he doesn't teach people not to see, not to hear, not to smell, and all those things. No, he said you have to see, you have to hear, you have to smell, but yet you are not tempted. There is a wisdom you must develop. You must live life. So when it comes to all these technological thing, or even money, precious stone, or whatever, it's the user of all this money or technology. That is one. That's why I say before you are enlightened, when you are under training, you may not have the wisdom to handle all this. So it's a training rule that you have to observe. But once you have awakened and developed the understanding without greed, without hatred and delusion, then you can handle all this. That's why it is provided for. And those who have the understanding will understand and know how to develop it appropriately in accordance. Mm. Okay, we continue our sharing from there. Mm. So we will read on. In one of the sutta, if you may recall, there was an incident when Venerable Ananda came and talked to the Buddha and said, we have somebody here and his teacher taught him this teaching, which is very good according to Ananda. Do you remember? That particular person came and told Ananda, my teacher teaches, see no evil. This is the one. Hear no evil and speak no evil. I think nowadays they got a modern cartoon that repeat this. Then by virtue of that, you will become virtuous and you will become wise and enlightened. The Buddha straight away reprimanded Venerable Ananda by saying, foolish one, when did I teach you such Dhamma? You are supposed to see, hear, communicate, and yet there is no evil arising. That is the teaching. Not to suppress and avoid all this, because your desire, your delusion, and your greed are still suppressed, not rooted out yet. So if you don't develop wisdom to confront them, their understanding, to see their impermanence, impermanent universal characteristic, leading to the understanding of their suffering universal characteristic, non-self and empty nature, you cannot free your mind. You cannot liberate them, your mind. Hence, all these precepts are laid down to prevent downfall initially, because you have not yet developed the understanding as yet. It is just like the first 5 precepts, where you have to develop the understanding via right view with regards to the law of karma. Then you will know that the law of karma is so powerful, because we are born of our karma, heir to our karma condition and supported by our karma. And we are what we are because of karma. Knowing this, that is all of our life is almost 100% due to our karma. Because we are born of our karma, heir to our karma condition and supported by it. And we are what we are because of it. So what must we do? We must take care of our karma, right? No, only the form and mind is subject to karma. Then how do we take care of karma? We have to avoid all evil, do good, and purify the mind, following the advice of the Buddha. how to avoid all evil, the Buddha recommended that you keep your precepts. But you have to investigate into why the Buddha said you must keep your precepts. Why must you abstain from all those things? If you don't abstain, it will lead to karmic negativity. Then you have to check who are the one who violates karma. They are evil people with the evil roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. Then you will understand why you have to abstain, why you have to maintain the precepts. As we cultivate with this understanding, we can avoid a lot of potential karmic negativity or causes for karmic negativity to arise. That's the reason why the Buddha said all cultivation has to start with sila, the three-step or approach to Dhamma cultivation that you need to take to cultivate the teaching. They are sila, samadhi, and panya. Sila is morality or precept, and samadhi is the trained mind which is collected and unwavering. This mind is very stable, collected, and unwavering. With your mind in samadhi, you will have the ability to see things as they are. And wisdom will arise, and this is the one that can liberate the mind via understanding. When you have understanding, you will awaken. That's how you cultivate. So the purpose of precepts or the monk's rules, patimokkha, which is the patimokkha, is to develop the training of the mind so that you don't have so much karmic negativity. And when you are without karmic negativity, you stand a better chance because they are the condition for you to cultivate. If you break your precept, if you don't have the training rule to train you, you will keep on creating karmic negativity. So without precept, it is very difficult for the mind to enter samadhi. It's very difficult to train your mind to develop the meditation. You will know why isn't it? If you break your precept, you will have a lot of mental hindrance. You will have a lot of karmic negativity that will bring about situations that will make you less peaceful. Also, without morality, you cannot develop the goodness, the wholesomeness, and the merge. And without the merge, the wholesomeness, you cannot have the good condition to allow you to come and train your mind to meditate. So that's the reason why precepts were introduced initially for you to avoid all evil, so that you can have better condition to train your mind. Your mind will have less karmic negativity, less fear, less worry, anxiety, sorrow and lamentation, and negative karmic friction. Then you will have more peacefulness. Then you will have a more peaceful mind with less restlessness, less agitation, and fewer mental hindrance like fear, worry, anxiety. After you have the mindfulness, you will have the ability to avoid evil. Then you can start to develop the other aspect of goodness via the four right effort. The first right effort is to abandon the wrong thought, wrong action, and wrong speech that has a reason. That is to do away with all action, speech, and thought that has the evil roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. Then when you have the wisdom and the understanding developed, you can prevent them from arising. This is the first stage of cultivation, where you need to make sure from now onward, you will not introduce any more karmic negativity in your life condition, so that you will have the good condition to allow only the good karma from your past to arise. Just by doing so, you have set the base for goodness or virtue to arise. But if you don't keep your precepts or sila, it's very difficult to develop samadhi, the second stage of cultivation. That's the reason why the Buddha emphasized a lot on sila or morality. This is the virtue that you need to enable you to walk the path of Dhamma, to train your mind to arise the causes and conditions through your mental aspiration. You can invoke the merits for causes and conditions to avoid the foolish and meet up with the wise, so that enlightenment in the here and the now can be realized as soon as possible. Then you can invoke the power of merits or power of truth. Without Sila, all this will not be possible. Therefore, Sila is very important. In the commentary by Master Shenua, he didn't explain this deeper meaning. They are just like ordinary people who are advised not to touch money because they believe the precept has a good reason for it. But they don't understand that this precept is only needed during the initial phase of training, because before you have the wisdom and the understanding, and before samadhi kicks in, you cannot stabilize your mind. You have the clarity. To have the clarity to see things as they are, to insight in the phenomena, and to realize their universal characteristic, thereby giving rise to the wisdom. You still cannot deal with defilement as yet, because the mundane mind is still deluded and egoic or egoistic. The teaching is staged out into Sila, Samadhi, and Panya for you to understand. That's the reason why when you are undertaking training, when you are under training, you have to observe the precept. You cannot play a fool with them. You have to uphold them. But the moment you have samadhi, that leads to the awakening and the understanding. Then the former mind, which is the use of thought and the use of money and technology, become wise. That user has wisdom and understanding. That thought become the right thought, and money become wholesomeness. And technology can be put to good use. That precept is no longer applicable to such a person, because these precepts are only for people who are still under training. That's why in the teaching there is such a thing as beyond training, sikas and asikas. Sikas are those still under training, asika are those beyond training. When you are beyond training, then you will come to understand that these training rules are put in place for those who are still under the training, where they haven't yet developed the wisdom. It is similar to traffic light. When does the government introduce traffic lights? Of course, everybody knows that it's to regulate the traffic. So their purpose and intent is to regulate traffic. What happens if the traffic light is no longer functioning? Like when there is a short circuit or something is wrong and it's no longer performing that function. If you are rigid about rules, what will happen or what will you do? You see the red light and you say, no, red light means stop. You cannot go. And then you wait. You wait until the people at the back of you horn at you because it's not serving its purpose anymore. If it is not serving its purpose anymore, you must not be gullible. You must not be rigid. You must not just say because the Buddha says so, hence you cannot do this and you cannot do that. The Buddha never say you cannot do. The Buddha say you undertake the training rule to abstain from doing. You have to understand why you have to abstain. It's because evil lead to evil and downfall. That's why you cannot do it. Then the abstinence from money is the same. There is a big difference between abstinence from touching money and their 5 precepts. Even though the precept says you have to abstain from accepting or touching money, it does not mean that when you touch money, you have committed negativity of karma. This is because it is not like the first precept. When you kill or harm, you have violated the precept. But if you use the money negatively, then only you have violated the karmic law. Do you understand? The precept on money is needed when one is under training, because the moment you touch or accept money before you have the samadhi and the wisdom, they can be tempted to use it out of greed and delusion, leading to negativity of karma. Similarly, when you understand this, you will understand why the precepts are phrased in such a way. You will always see the last few words. Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. It means I undertake the training rule to abstain from doing something. So that is the reason why I always emphasize to you that the Dhamma is to be cultivated with understanding. Meditation is to be developed or done with understanding. Why do you take the precepts or keep the precepts? Why do you take refuge? Why do you do the puja? All this need understanding. And when you understand, you will do it well. We are doing it with understanding. Even meditation is the same. So when you read the commentary, you have to understand all this. They didn't explain the last part. They go by the book, which is the precepts. The commentary say, without money you are pure, with money you are dirty. Do you agree with such sentence? Cannot be, isn't it? Without wisdom, even without money, you are still not pure. How can you say without money you are pure? If the word is different, if they word it differently, then maybe it's more meaningful. Without money, they have to add in the word. Chances are you will not become greedy because you don't have the chance to own the money. Then you will not think of stealing or misappropriating the money. That is the true meaning. If they don't allow you to touch money, it means it's done out of love and compassion for you, because before you have developed the understanding and the wisdom, it's advisable that you don't touch money. It will lead to downfall. It will lead to attachment. In a way, it's like drug. Do you understand? You touch them, but if you don't take them, you are still okay. But chances are, if you own them and you have, and you are given, you will use it. Then through your own delusion, your own craving and desire and curiosity, you will get yourself into trouble. You can become addicted to the drug. So that part is not shared. But I haven't read the rest of the commentary, so I don't know whether it will be explained later or not. Okay, I think we stop here. Okay, you all can slowly, mindfully come out of the meditation. So try to maintain whatever inner peace, inner calmness, and inner awareness that you have developed. Especially the inner awareness or inner mindfulness. You have to stabilize that and use that as your daily living. You need to be in that state, which is the meditative state in the midst of life. We call that the mindfulness training, daily mindfulness. Okay, so now we will continue with our second session. Second session is meditation reporting.
First of all, I'd like to inform Brother Teo that the coming Sunday I can't see because here got puja.
Chop raw.
Okay. So
Sunday. Don't worry, you go ahead. Yes. Yes. I think we will cancel the class too.
But I will need to join. See whether, because I also somebody already called the evening they will drop in. And I see how whether I may be late in the evening.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah.
Okay. I just like to share about this awareness that I understood. Maybe to me on this, because I knew sati is very important initially, but in the mundane, I can't get it.
Yes, yes.
Took me years of trying to understand.
Yeah, not easy. That one is the most difficult actually. All of training, the meditation is to understand what sati is. Then from there, develop the stability of sati to transform it into heedfulness, apamada. That part is the most difficult.
Yeah,
And
correct.
the teaching is quiet on that, very quiet on that. And seldom people were able to explain these two things, sati and apamada.
So through years of finding, practices, cultivates,
Yeah.
I start to, I know that there are different level of awareness that we do. They work to until the awareness nature. But even though you doesn't do it correctly, it's good to go through, because at least you know how it works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because this is like what we said, without training, without going through, you cannot understand
correct.
how people started off wrongly and how they get into trouble.
Yeah,
It's just like a kid. When we are young, you learn how to walk. Sometimes it can be quite interesting to see how the baby learn how to walk. They keep on falling. And they keep on stumbling into problem. But if they have the understanding later, they will succeed. But what is important is to try. Every
correct.
time you fall, stand up again. Then try it. Then walk. And sooner or later, you will know how to walk. But sati is much more difficult than learning how to walk, because without anybody explaining it to you, it's very difficult to understand, or very difficult to develop the training to realize it, because hardly hardly any cultivator really understand that. Most people later on only stumble upon it, they understand it, but they don't know how to put into words. They don't know how to translate it into a teaching to teach. Not easy.
That is one part. Another one is that today, the sharing about Bratio highlighted Dharma is to be cultivated with understanding.
Yeah,
This
that one very important.
because if not, we can't apply it, and
Correct,
not a
correct.
learning process. It's more
Yeah,
important insight into the Dharma through your understanding of your own problem, your means your own habitual tendencies,
yes.
between there to move towards the real understanding. If not, it will be very attached to the
Yeah,
words.
correct. You will cling to the so-called teaching and the meditation.
Correct.
Then you don't know what this thing is, but your attachment to it created the grasping. You hold on to all those words and all those so-called method techniques and teachings. Then you think you already meditated, you think you already know the teaching. You can quote them, you can even uh, get the theory out and all those things and share them as if you know. But the real Dhamma is so different from what has been taught or popularly accepted by the Buddhist community or the society. So that's the reason why the true understanding of the Buddha Dharma is not easy. Although after you have got it, is very straightforward, very easy. But before that, it's really not easy. Because I reflected back, contemplated back. How come nobody can really put it into words and teach it? Because the topic is so wide. And to to really develop the understanding is not easy.
Yes. And meditation is to be done with understanding, and Pratyo have highlighted many times. We shouldn't take your informations. The understanding that you share with us actually is informations to us that we need to digest and put into practices. But we shouldn't take your understanding as a guardian to us, because
I correct it a bit, Miss Lee. The word should not be my understanding is actually that one is okay, but don't quote me. You remember I always say don't quote me,
right?
because when you quote me without my understanding, you get into trouble.
Yeah, because right, because if you take your what we
Words,
understand,
words, my
meditate.
sharing and my word, because people use it as knowledge. They use the thought process, the mundane mind, to interpret it, to understand it. Then after that, they quote me and they think they know, but they get into trouble. Because like the Buddha said, this Dhamma is to be cultivated, to be realized. If you don't cultivate it and develop the realization of it, you cannot comprehend, you cannot understand. To realize means to awaken to it. Means this one is Pacetang. This Dhamma is to be realized by the wise, each for themselves. It is not a knowledge, not a rigid knowledge where you can use thought to remember. It is so different.
Right. This is very important.
Yeah.
Another thing is the precepts that Bracho highlight to us.
Yeah. Also need to be understood.
It's actually free our mind, not to bind our mind.
Yeah.
It's actually a law by itself. That means regulator for our mind to get free.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like we always said, it's the Buddha's way. Out of love and compassion for the living being, he advised you to keep your precept, not to make life difficult for you. Because if you don't keep, you will get into big trouble. So it's out of love and compassion for living being that he advised each and every one should undertake the training rule to abstain from breaking these precepts. But when you break, it constitutes major evil and it will lead to karmic negativity and severe karmic downfall. Then your life is gone because you are born of it, heir to it, conditioned and supported by it, and you are what you are because of it. And this teaching, although is stated in the Theravada Sutra, is seldom explained. Even at the Mahayana level, is seldom explained. The significance of precepts, why precepts, and what constitute precepts. It comes from, like you say, nature's law that governs life and existence, principally or mainly the law of karma. And that law is a very powerful law, and the Buddha need to use many words to try to deliver the explanation of this law. But to summarize it is not easy. That's why during the time of the Buddha, I don't blame him for the teaching and how this way. Because there was no written text, no words, and also no recording and all those things. So he need to use verbal to share. And this verbal that he shared, he actually repeated. You look at the sutta, they are like, every sutta is a lot of repeating one. Even for the six sense door especially, all repeated for every sense door. Why did he do that? Why did he take his trouble to go through all this? Because at that time, 2000 years ago, civilization was so backward. And the only media of instruction is via verbal. verbal and audio means audio in the sense that you must listen to him when he speak, or when Ananda speak, or some of the disciples speak. So through words, it's very difficult to communicate and express the teaching. But this teaching that he teach are beyond words, beyond thought. So how can this teaching be learned by people who gullibly just listen to the words using the thought process? You can't. Where the teaching is akalical, timeless, beyond thought, beyond time. So all this need to be understood. Santitico, akalico, ehipaseko, all these things. Very good, Miss D, for having the clearer picture to highlight this.
Yeah,
But this should be done. This should be reflected.
my sharing now has become more I mean, we can see, at least we we
Yeah,
can,
you all start to understand and see why
yes, then
in
we,
the early day it cannot be done because people don't understand all this. And although the words I use are very simple, meditation is to be done with understanding. Precept is to be kept with understanding. But the word understanding is very important.
yes,
Understanding is the wisdom part. It's not a knowledge. Like the five precepts. Last time they used to tell me, ayo, five precepts very easy lah. Kindergarten style, panati pata. They always chant those things. They thought by knowing how to chant by heart, they know the precept. No, the understanding of the precept is so deep.
yeah,
How does precept come about? How do you really understand what constitutes precept and why the Buddha used the word we undertake the training rule to abstain from all these things? Then how to link it to the teaching? When he teaches the three evil roots first, great hatred and delusion, then he elaborated on it. But the elaboration part of the three evil roots has been missed out in the teaching. But the later teaching, they just mention these three words: greed, hatred, and delusion. Of course, these are equivalent English words. But the Pali word is lobha, dosa, and moha. But these are not explained, expanded. That's why people don't understand. And these are called the three evils because they are the roots of all evil. They make you evil when you manifest them. And to manifest them is to have wrong thought through the delusion, the egoic mind, which is the mundane mind. And from there, like the Buddha said, mind is a forerunner of all things. Mind is chief. When mind arises, all things arise. So to understand this, to comprehend this is so important. But how many people can understand and comprehend? But without mindfulness, without the understanding of the teaching, all this cannot be comprehended. Because the teaching, the topic is so wide and so immense and intense. It's not easy. That's why this real Dhamma is very, very difficult to come by. Rare indeed. Rare indeed. The opening verse already stated very clearly. It's not only profound,
you
it's
can,
rare.
yes, the awareness allow you to inward to see your own mind, you
Yeah,
know, see how it actually work.
yeah,
Then we're able to understand how actually, if you are not don't have the awareness, every moment you are actually in the wrong view.
yeah. You are lost in thought, heedlessly thinking. Yeah, that is the only instrument human being has. So what is awareness? Awareness is the inner awareness nature. That's why you use the word to go in, to go in. to be aware from within. Hey, what is that? These are all words. So the moment you are without thought, only the awareness nature surface. So that part nobody teach. They use the thought and try to be aware. That's where they fail to achieve. And they really don't have any understanding of what sati is. So they do a lot of verbalization, a lot of thought-based type of training and doing, wanting to realize that, and they copy a lot of the teaching, especially the Zen side, 回光返照. The words are beautiful. Return the light, 回光, then reflect, 返照. 回光 means what? Go back to that nature which is bright, clear, understand or not? And reflect. That is awareness, that is sati. But the understanding of it is not thought. Without thought, only that thing surface is before the knowing, before the perception, before the aggregates of mind arise. And that is the state. That is our nature without words, without reality. Nobody explained this until today.
Yeah, remember Brother Teo used to advise me last time. I like to send the beautiful quotes.
Yeah.
I find that it sound very
Meaningful to you.
to me. But after this, nowadays I look at it.
Different again, yeah.
You don't. I feel that it doesn't bring up the essence.
Definitely, when you don't have that wisdom, it doesn't bring out the essence. Then not all code are correct.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the code, popular, accepted, but not correct. Even the one that your master used on is very good. 无念就是真心. Actually, that one is not written on. No thought is the true mind. Your teacher, Boy and Changlao, he very good. And then, of course, the other one is in the teaching.
Yeah, he was saying that 念起不随,
Yeah.
起不随, 念尽不救.
Yeah.
This I find that this one, Brother Teo have been highlight quite.
Yeah.
Because once, like for instance, previous time before I go to the deep quietude the time.
The silent.
Before I go into the that type of silence is different from what is in peace. It's different.
Yeah, very different. Because that silence is that nature without movement of thought, without chattering, without verbalization. That tranquility, that stillness, that silence.
During that time, because I'm so contrast, it's so contrast. I can't get in because immediately I realize the contrast out already. Because
do you know why you can't get it? Because you use the thought to get it. Like your Boyan Changlao say, 起心动念. The moment you arise a thought, you are not there anymore.
correct.
That's why you can't get it.
Then up to fifth time, because I had to sustain that type of and a curious mind. I will sustain.
Actually, no need one, because they didn't teach you, they didn't explain to you. That's why you try so hard, because you try to stop the thought. How can you stop the thought?
No, not stop the thought. It's just that I just let it be. Then the
that is trying not to think, understand now, which is stopping the thought indirectly. Because you don't want to think. You want to let it be. You want to realize that that one thing is a thought, which is a craving. And when thought is active, you cannot be in that state. That's why I say you have to understand without thought, you're already aware. So who is trying to be aware? No need. Relax and maintain awareness, because the thought must cease. Maintain awareness means what? Don't think. Whatever arise, let it be, let it pass. Aware, finish, aware, finish. This is a new training, new way of deconditioning it so that the thought cease. That's why you just relax and maintain awareness. Let everything slow down, become quiet again. Then that original mind return to its original state. That is how all this is to be done, to be realized. But nobody teach like that for so long. And it took me so long to introduce the understanding because you all have been so conditioned by the thought process, the various type of thought-based teaching, which they tell you, you must go deep into it, like you mentioned. You try to sustain it. Who is saying all this? The thought. Who is trying to sustain the thought? Why
Yes.
do you still hold on to the thought? You don't need the thought. The thought is dependent originating, condition arising, causal phenomenal, respond to memory. So understand this. But you need memory to live life. So, like it or not, memory is already there, just like money or technology. You cannot blame memory. How you become memory, I think. How can you do that? The Buddha's teaching is, even with the memory, you are like a child without memory. Like, understand, the mind is aware without the influence of memory. Your views, opinion, conditioning, and belief system does not come over from the memory to haunt you and to stir your mind. And that is mindfulness training. That is deep. That is samadhi cultivation. The mind can be in a state of samadhi, means unwavering, collected, does not stir, not affected, despite the memory, despite the external stimulant, the sense data. So today, the sharing is very good. All this will make it a lot more clearer.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes, correct, Bharatu. But it takes us a long time to understand that.
definitely, that's why you must try. Like what you did today is very good. You try to reflect like what I suggest to the Kayamita early on. If you were to like assume you don't know anything, you want to start from a new slate. How do you understand the cultivation? Then you reflect back, you look back. How did you get trapped out? So with your explanation now is you are much better than last time, but you haven't got a clear picture. Then you give me the condition to explain. Actually, all this I explained before, but you don't have the condition to understand it very clearly because this is the new, I should say, condition that allow me to explain it in a different way, which will complement the understanding much better. And you all will actually, after today's sharing, understand that sati, that awareness nature, a lot more clear, a lot more clear. Otherwise, it's not easy. Because, like I said, a lot of people, even after they have done it, they stumble upon it, they have a glimpse of it, but they don't know what that thing is because very fast it's gone. Then after that, they use the thought process to think, or they use the word to try to understand, reflect, contempt, but actually it involves thinking again. Then from there, they can't realize what they experienced just a while ago or during the formal meditation or retreat training. Because that thing happened when you are without thought. And it's only for a while, a glimpse or short period. Then you cannot relate. Because the moment you want to relate, your knowledge come in, your thought come in. Then it upset the whole thing again. Then you try to use word calm. Unless you have the stability or the awareness, then you awaken to all this Dhamma, understand. Then your nature have the understanding that is very stable. Then only you can start to put it into words to explain this. Otherwise, it's very difficult. I realize people cannot do. People cannot do. My nature can do it because from the past I already cultivated this. That's why this life, when it comes, we understand on its own. Nobody taught me. As far as this is concerned, nobody taught me. I had one guy and teacher, my second last one. She was the one that actually told me that. He said, do you know that he even told somebody else. He said, you want to know sati awareness, you will ask you. He's an expert in that. He did that a lot in the past. Oh. That's why how I transform my nature, no. And when I transform, I go and share that with her. He said, do you know what you have gone through? Monk also cannot do. Because that transformation was so different. And my nature knew what the thing was. That's why after that, I realized what the Buddha meant by Pachitang. Veditapo Vinohiti. This Dhamma is Pachitang. That can be realized only by the wise, each for themselves. The one that awakened is the wise one. And that is the only person who can understand. Means everyone that go through that process. That's why this nature is to be realized, to be understood, to be awakened to. Otherwise, you cannot really understand what it is. That's why this Dhamma that is Pachitang is very beautiful. After that, no need to ask anybody, check with anybody or what. That nature within really very different. It is so penetrating. That nature is so beautiful. Although we need to use words to communicate, to share, to express it. But the truth is that thing is without words. But it can only arise when you are completely silent, without thought. That's why you have to be in a state of heedfulness. Heedfulness means ever mindful, constantly meditating. So to be in that heedful state means your mind is always aware, ever mindful. Means specific phenomena awareness throughout the day, or spacious awareness without a center. Means either your mundane mind has already collapsed and that nature shine forth, and that nature is with you all the time. Then the supramundane mind arises for you to use. That one is great being, advanced cultivator who has gone through this. Normal people, not so easy. Normal people, the mundane mind hasn't collapsed yet. That's why it's still there. But if they can realize up to arahantship, then they know that sankhara anicca, sankhara dukkha, dhamma, they have this wisdom. But they cannot express it. They cannot explain it. But the mundane mind is still there. There is no such clarity. They can only explain to you certain aspect of sati, awareness. But they don't have the stability to explain. That's why to teach the Dhamma, you need Sama Sambuddha, really, Sama Sambuddha, to really teach. Or some great being cultivator who has already developed this from the past. Then they come, then they have this understanding. Then this teaching can be taught in this way. That's the reason why when I came out, I want to share, I want to teach. Cannot. Because it was so different from what is commonly accepted. That's the reason why in the year 1989 until 2004, I didn't do anything. Because who can understand such teaching? Even if I want to share, it cannot be understood. Until Yun Chan came and see me. 2004, then there are causes and conditions, and things starts to move. 89 to 2004 is 15 years. I didn't do anything. Then 2004 until now is another 18 years.
Yes.
So total 30 over years already. So now you all can understand why is this teaching so difficult to come by. Because to teach it also not easy. Very few cultivator can develop the understanding to accept it. You all already considered the very special interested one. Also took so long. Yeah. Very good. You continue, Miss Lee.
Yeah, right, Joe. I think I share up to here.
You want to
No,
say something? You can.
I think I just now, before your Zoom Dhamma start, just now I was chit chat with my daughter.
Yeah,
And then
that's never mind.
and then she says something, So I was so upset. I was telling her, to be creative. Like just now, she was posting one Mother's Day to her sister, lah. And then I say, okay, you do one, you create one for Father's Day, lah. Not his father, lah. The sister's husband. Then after that, she told me, I just asked you one question, and you say so much thing, Then I was thinking, I mean, I am the mother or she is the mother, telling me, I always loggerhead with this second daughter, because whenever I try to tell her, I suggest something, then she will ask me, like stupid question. She is 30 years old already, she just like to go into, detail. And then I say, first of all, you can create this thing for your sister. Then what about Father's Day? You create this for your brother-in-law, the child. And then she said, I ask you one question, Lee, you say like.
Do you have any question or not, Grace? Based on what you share with us, do you have any question that you want to understand?
That's why I wanted to ask. That means because of this
misunderstanding,
so it worked it up on me, I get so
it makes you
upset, and then
unhappy, upset, and miserable.
So now I
you want to understand?
I want to know, should I like, okay lah, I mean, take it as this is the cause and condition, and then be done with it lah, and then just to be aware that, what I'm feeling, just let it be like that. Should I do that?
I think I understand your question. Don't worry. I will explain it to you.
Okay.
Help you.
Because
I know what you are not the only one. In fact, a lot of people go through that the early day before they know the Dhamma. Because each and every one of us, we have our own views, our own character, our own opinion of things. Do you understand? The way you behave, you are unique, you all have your character. And why your daughter, this one in particular, always have problem communicating with you and giving you so much of this. Of course, when you use this word at the age of 30 plus or 30, still ask to, because it hurts her, understand? That's why the teaching say right speech, you have to accept her for what she is. She's your daughter. She grew up in the environment where you are partly involved. Then there is karmic between you and her from the past. That's why she become her daughter. And the way you become upset over what she says, because last time when you say certain thing to your parent also upset from the way you say to them. This is karma. You reap what you sow.
But I have no parents, when I was small. So I think I didn't.
You don't
maybe
understand.
I don't know what other life lah. Maybe.
Wait, Grace, you listen. You don't understand what I say. That's why you become confused again. When I say in the past, not necessarily this life, understand or not?
Okay, okay.
In the past, you must have been a child and you did this to your parents. So what is karma? You reap what you sow.
Oh,
How
okay.
other people's children, they are so nice to them.
Okay.
Our Kayamita, the children, they have such harmony, understanding, and they communicate well. Then how come other people have problem like you, which is very common? And a lot of them that came and see me with a problem, they always tell me, Matthew, I don't know why my children are like that. It's nothing to do with why. Buddha said, whatever that happened, there are causes and conditions behind.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I
this
know.
causes and condition is karmically related. That's why you cannot understand the teaching. You don't know how to apply. And I don't blame you. You are new.
Yeah.
Even people who knows the teaching can't relate all this, can't connect all this. So you need to have the understanding of the teaching, then start from somewhere sincerely, then cultivate this teaching with Noble Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths, the Three Turning. Then your character change, your understanding change. Then you can understand how you become entangled, how your daughter is what she is, what karma is. And then only you can help to resolve your own problem and issue. You can't resolve your own problem and issue means you don't know the teaching. Then how can you teach people? Your suggestions are your views, your opinion, your thought process, which are not relevant because this is not you, this is your daughter. So a lot of things need wisdom and understanding, need the profound penetration of this teaching, and it's not easy. That's why I mentioned to Miss Lee, don't call you to share because you are new, you are still very new. And I hope through this hearing, sharing, you can slowly gain the faith and determine to go and study this teaching and put it into practice, cultivate, then change for the better and see whether it works for you or not. Otherwise, it's not easy. Uh, because your suffering, your misery come from your lack of understanding of this teaching, which is the big picture. Not to hear the bits and pieces here and there and try to apply that knowledge. It's not like that. The Dhamma need to be understood as the totality of teaching the big picture. Then from the big picture, you go through life, you resolve your own problem first. When you can resolve your own problem, then only you can help people to resolve their problem. This is what the teaching is. So it's not easy. Hopefully, with this explanation, you can understand and it can benefit you. And other people also can develop the understanding. So the Buddha Dharma is not something very easy to understand. It's not something you can listen for a while, then take a little bit here and there, then want to apply it. It's not like that. That's why I say it has to be done with understanding. So to be done with understanding is very important. Mm. Can you mute your mic, Grace?
Yeah. Mute it.
Mute your mic.
Mute your in.
Mute already, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's still there. I saw the mic still there. Oh, okay. It's still there. You on it again, huh? Okay. Okay, muted already. Thank you. Thank you. Sadhu, So hopefully you go back, you listen to my advice again, then you try to develop the understanding, then develop the faith to go into the study of this teaching. And this teaching can be very systematic when you understand. Then after that, you don't understand, you can ask how to start and how does it. In fact, I mentioned all this before, even today sharing also I mentioned uh, why you must keep your precepts. Then from the law of karma, all these things come about, then what constitutes evil, and all these things you have to go through, develop the understanding. Then from there, put it into practice, cultivate it, and change over for the better. When you follow the advice of the Buddha to avoid all evil, do good, is the beginning of cultivation. Then, of course, to meditate, to develop the wisdom and to awaken and transform is a much more difficult process, but can be done. So it's to be done later. To avoid evil is to keep precept. We must understand all this. Then to cultivate wholesomeness is to cultivate the four right effort, to abandon the wrong thought, wrong speech, and wrong action. Then the right effort to prevent them from arising. Then the right effort to cultivate the virtue, the goodness, the wholesomeness, the kindness, the gentleness that are still not in you. And that is the second advice. Avoid all evil, first advice, then do good or cultivate wholesomeness. The third right effort and the fourth right effort to refine upon it and perfect all this understanding is the beginning of doing good and cultivate goodness, wholesomeness. And to do all this, you need mindfulness. You need to train your mind. And it's not easy. Huh? Okay? Hopefully with this, you go back, you listen, and you try, see when you are feeling already to go into it and give it a try. It will change your life, make you much better. Later on, you will know how to accept your daughter for what she is. Then turn around and develop the communication line to become very loving daughter and mother again. By using your views and opinion, it won't solve your problem like what you have gone through. Like you say, after she says certain thing, things will make you unhappy, hurt your ego, then your thought tell you what? Whether you are the mother or she is the mother. When you say all this, it's not going to help, it's going to make her feel worse. Where she will not be happy to hear all these words which are like very, very negative or sarcastic in the sense, because people need to understand why they are wrong and how they can improve and change for the better. So as a mother, if you have the Dhamma, you will approach it differently. You will rejoice and tell her, thank you so much. You remember today is Mother's Day. I feel good. I have gratitude. And I can see your sincerity. You start like that, she will be very happy. Understand? It has been quite a while. Mom has not really heard you do something for me on Mother's Day. And I really appreciate it. And thank you so much. It become different, understand now? Instead of arguing with her, why not you suggest already? Why not you do something for the other father, the sister, or whatever's father? So all this will create more complicated. Then after that, you become unhappy. These are Dhamma in daily life. What you say has its implication. You reap what you sow. When you communicate wrongly without the Noble Eightfold Path, the Dhamma and the wisdom, you get yourself entangled. And you reap what you sow, you kena back because of karmic and holistic. Then there is no harmony because the two are using their mundane mind with the views, opinion, and the conditioning and the karmic behind to try to develop the communication line. It will definitely end up the way you have gone through. That's why you hardly have happy moments, peaceful moments, good moments. So when you reflect into life, you have to ask yourself sincerely, how come people's children, they have such understanding and they can live with their parents very well and they communicate so well. They are so cheerful, so happy, so beautiful. Now, how come you can't have yours? It's all because of what the Buddha said. We are all born of our karma, heir to our karma, conditioned and supported by our karma. And we are all what we are because of karma. So you look back, they also started initially with misunderstanding, but they start to change. When they change, they start to develop the understanding. Then when both change, then the communication line went through. And I can tell you, most children, when they are young, they are very self-centered. They only think of themselves. They seldom think of others. For your daughter, I can advise you one thing. You wait till she approaches 40 years old or 30 something to 40. Then only she will behave differently. And she will think of the home, the parents, and all those things. Because at this age, when they themselves are not happy, not settled down, don't have the teaching and the number, you cannot blame them for what they are. They are just the way they are according to their karmic past, their conditioning. They are just the way nature actually evolved. So all this, you need understanding. That's why you realize a lot of parents and children, unless their karmic things are resolved, they cannot have good time, good life. Most of them, after their misunderstanding resolve coming, then they start to appreciate each other, then they start to have goodness, and then they become very close again. Then the life become meaningful. Then they realize, oh, parent already aged. We must spend more time with them, otherwise too late. Not everything is about money, 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 chasing after money, and all those things. So everyone is different. As we go through life, we look at life differently, priority hours. But most people are selfish without the Dhamma. You cannot be sensitive. You cannot understand why people behave that way, why people say that. Then you tend to be reactive. You tend to have this negativity of mind state, to complain, to ask why, and to justify, and then to criticize, to say all these things. This is what reflection is all about. This is what mindfulness. When you are mindful and aware, you start to see yourself. You start to understand why you become miserable, why you become unhappy, why your daughter is like that. Only after you understand, you start to change, reverse all this, straighten your view, then change over for the better, and develop the communication channel with understanding, with love, with noble eightfold path. So this is what we call the process of self reflection through mindfulness, awareness. Then when we reflect, contemplate, 回光返照, we start to understand clearly self-knowledge. Who are we? What are we? And how we become entangled, and how we become so unhappy, so negative. Then how can we change? How can we resolve all this amicably? How can we develop the understanding of it? This is all cultivation. And it's not just overnight. You take some knowledge or so-called the Dhamma teaching and want to apply. You know, the real understanding is so different. You need to really go into it, the big picture, the understanding. Then when you have the embodiment of that teaching and the understanding, only can you start to change for the better. If you yourself cannot change and improve your life, how can you teach people, help people, explain all this to people? You can't. That's why the Dhamma understanding, the teaching is not easy to comprehend and develop understanding so that it can actually become a living example to yourself and to help others, to be a blessing to others. Not easy. Okay. So hopefully, with this, it can help you. Okay, Grace?
Yeah, good afternoon, Brother Teo.
Yeah, Sadhu.
And all Kalamitas, Mrs. Teo.
Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day to all the beautiful mother in our
Sadhu.
Kalamitas.
Yeah. You remember that, the website got a lot of good wishes, but today you do it very well. Sadhu, a lot of mother will be very happy.
Actually, Kalamita, a lot of 好幸福嘅人啊，Brother Teo.
Yeah, oh, I'm full. You're right.
Can see they got very good parami and
Yeah,
all these things, you know.
Yes.
Of course, we cannot, even though, I mean, economy-wise, money-wise, they are all very abundant.
Yeah. Most of them actually very like blessed in that sense.
Yes, I think relatively they are. And of course, we are not spared of suffering of human beings.
Yeah. Very true. But most of
really,
them are much better off because of the parami from the past and the Dhamma understanding. Yeah, you are right in that sense.
Yeah, many brother on 一眼看过去，他们都很丰盛、很幸福。
Yeah, Sadhu. It's correct. Because not only you say that. A lot of my friends, even last time, Gumoy they all, when they join our Kamita group, you know what she told me or not? In fact, quite a number told me. Even Sheng when they all, they said, Brother, do you know one thing? Your Kayamitas are all very different, very special. They are very sincere, very kind, and they're very helpful. They are not like the one you meet in the society or like or out to take advantage of you, or they like very funny behavior. Oh, don't happen. They realize our Kanyamita is very different. Even the Singaporean also told me, and those who know our group one, went to retreat one, they realize our Kanyamitas are very different. And went for spiritual trip also same. So helpful, so kind, so understanding. Very good, Alan. Oh, you have good observation.
Brother, I think on generally, for Buddhists, those follower, I think majority also very well educated one.
Yeah.
I don't know how to tell, like other religions across the board, all of them are their followers. But I think in Chinese, particularly in Chinese, I think Buddhism are followed by
more educated group, more educated. But there are also some who have the faith and do chanting on. These are older people. But the modern society one is all more intellect and educated group. Because the more intellect and the educated group, they know how to reflect and contemplate, and they seek really answers. They are more scientific in their approach. They are more intellect in their understanding of things. So they cannot become gullible and conditioned into just believing without understanding. This is what I also came to realize. When I started also saying, I'm a science student. I have this very intellectual mind, which cannot just accept things on the surface. Superficial belief and all this thing doesn't work for my mind. My mind needs understanding. You're right, Sadhu.
I think, Brother Teo, sometimes, I mean, among our Kalamitas, we say we don't follow blindly, like, for instance, our group, we say, the sutta, if I put on the floor, I don't cross it intentionally. I also sit on the floor. So when I do chanting, of course, the sutta also on the floor. So I think not majority of the Buddhists are like that. Some of them still cannot accept. For instance, they say the price in a table cannot below our waist, must be above our chest.
These are all tradition, beliefs. Rites and ritual, the Buddha call it rites and ritual.
So, Brother, I think our group also, we don't buy this.
Yeah. Because of the explanation I gave. In the early day, I received a lot of this type of question. Oh, but they all argue among themselves. Then there was one session, I remember, Champaka, Saturday. That time I remember one of the Kayamita was doing the meditation. She was quite elderly, I think 70 plus. So her leg not so suitable to cross. We are at that age. So I told her, you can just lean against the wall, straighten your leg and all those things, or just lie down and all those things. Then there was one new person who I think also Buddhist, but from another group one. She happened to join the class. Then she came in, I think, a bit late, I think, when the meditation was about to start, or just started not long. Then she happened to sit next to that Kayamita, that old lady that had a problem with the crossing of the leg. He stretched the leg out. He leaned against the wall, and he was facing the Buddha and me. He straight away tell that Kayamita, how can you be so rude, pointing your leg at the Buddha and the teacher? After that Kayamita, because she also quite new, she got so upset she cannot meditate, the whole session. She becomes so distant. Because she thought bad karma and all those things. But at that time she was new, very new. Then when the meditation over, as usual, I do the Kosipaya. Then after that, I will start off the class by asking anybody got any question or meditation report. She straight away put up her hand and asked me, "But do I want to know something?" Somebody tell me, wow, it was like in front of that new lady that came from another class. So I have to be very thankful and explain to them. I say, these are right and ritual. It's not written in the Buddha that in the teaching that this thing is like a precept you cannot do. No, it's not in the precept at all. It's just a convention that people believe in. Like last time, they also told me, you must respect your scripture, your holy book, those things, the Sutra and all those things like that. So you cannot simply put it on the floor. Some people have that belief, but you cannot blame them. They are just the way they are. But at that level, they will believe that way. And they are so conditioned by it. And they feel really bad when you do that. So what is more important is the understanding behind it. That's why later on I share respect comes from the heart. Respect comes from understanding. It's not what you do. What you do, if you don't mean it, it is not something that is offensive. Because like I said, I give you the choice. If you are old, your leg cannot cross, you can stretch it out. And you don't intentionally like want to be rude by pointing the leg at me or the Buddha. Then I give another example. I said, if the Buddha can get angry because people point the leg at her or at him or me, then how can I claim to have the Dhamma? Means I'm not at peace when people do something which is not appropriate. But they are just the way they are. We have to accept that for what they are. But in this particular case, it's an understanding. If the understanding is there, then no more issue. Especially our modern day society, I even explained that we live in a condo. Your Buddha Rupang is below. If your unit is down there, then everybody walking up there, you mean they are disrespectful towards your Buddha or what? And you are going to tell them all or get angry over what they do. What they do is very normal. We are their unit up there. They will walk around. And it happened to be above your Buddha image. You go and classify that as rude. I mean, you are looking for your own misery. And nothing to do with the world. The world is the world. That's why the Buddha said, sitting as they are. the world is the world. People are just the way they are. Conditioned like that, things will be like that. So we have to have this understanding. Then all this, like you mentioned, the table, whatever altar table or dining table must be what height. It's subjective, relative. It's not something that is rigid. That's the reason why I always say whatever that is rigid, there is no Buddha Dharma. Buddha Dharma according to all. Everything is dependent on the condition behind, the understanding. So all these are important understanding. Then you pointed it out correctly. Our Kayamita actually hardly anybody who has this problem anymore. Over the years, they have developed the understanding. Yeah? The way I share is very liberal and very easy to understand. It is understanding and wisdom that is more important than rigid knowledge, rules, and all these things. So when you become rigid, you cannot accord and flow. You will create misunderstanding and conflict because you are being rigid, like traffic light example that I gave just now. Red light stop. So if it's out of order, you also stop. You created a cause. You have to observe the causes and conditions. If its purpose is no longer served, then we have to be flexible in the sense that we need to resolve it through an understanding. So if we need to move, we also will make the decision to move, but we try to resolve it. If everybody is so selfish, then you will end up very, very jam, especially in roundabout. If everybody don't want to give way, then all the vehicles stuck. And then you need somebody who is willing to resolve problem, come down and say, okay, you move back, you move back. And then only the traffic can flow. You have to allow one side to flow. Then only later on both sides flow. If both sides also don't want to give way, then both sides also get caught. Then end of the day, everybody get into trouble. This is not the most, I should say, conducive way to resolve an issue or problem. So all this we learn. Okay, Pauline, now you got 1 more minute left. I return the mic to you. You can finish it. Yeah.
I think about this liberal of the Buddhism, I think that's why it attracts a lot of educated intellectual people. The most wonderful, yes, the most wonderful or the most serious thing that Brother Teo mentioned about in the past or even now in the worldwide, the Buddha image or statue is being damaged. And Brother Teo say that is only a statue.
Yeah, it's not the Buddha.
Yes, so that's why you reflect the religion ilang si
very rigid. They hold on to the image. You cannot say bad things about their God and all those things.
Yeah, sometimes they don't ask some logic questions. Just blind follow Buddha all the way. I think that's the beautiful thing of Buddhism.
Yeah. Because it started off with the Buddha bar, I think in the 90s or 80s, I forgot already, in the internet. Somebody put the Buddha image into the bar where they had the liquor and all those things being served. Then some Buddhists are very rigid one. Got angry and wanted to form a petition and tell them all. I quickly stopped it and I wrote and explained. I said, our Buddha is the embodiment of wisdom and virtue, the doubly perfect like we've gone through today. It's not the image. If the image is the Buddha, then I will not take refuge. But the Buddha did mention that the Buddha Rupang is one of the 4 things that you have to recall to mind. Because we pay respect, reverential salutation, we don't worship the Rupang, is because that one allow us to recall to mind the embodiment and perfection of our teacher. He is the embodiment of perfect wisdom and virtue. So that wisdom and virtue that he has cultivated and perfected cannot be taken away from him, no matter what you do to the image. So that understanding was very good. And I remember that time also the Taliban bombed the giant Buddha in the what they call Afghanistan. And after that, they themselves were attacked by the Americans, the war after 9/11. And they have 20 odd years of misery. Then now, the American withdraw and they come back again. So history repeats itself. So what you mentioned is very true. Well, salute to you. Very good. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Brother Teo is already
Yeah,
past
we
the.
go to, yeah.
I want to go celebrate dinner.
Oh, yes, yes.
Ah.
No problem. You all can go ahead with your Mother's Day celebration. Okay, we will end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brother Teo.
Let us rejoice in all the good condition and sharing. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.